everyone. That's my new little intro. I didn't know what was happening. So pretty excited to be here with you this morning. This is Sully, and this is Soul on Fire, spiritual entrepreneurship courses that are running through Windermere Homes and Estates. And we have been talking this month about abundance, and that abundance is a mindset more than the accumulation of things. And some of the quotes and the talk points that I had done over this last month were from a book called The Art of Abundance by Dennis Merritt Jones. And my roommate told me that, he was big in the New Thought movement. And so I thought to myself, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just shoot him an email and see if it's possible that he comes onto my show and we do a little question and answer, kind of the end of the month. I wanted to do that with each of my topics. And so I didn't hear back from him. And I'm like, oh, that was lofty of me to even think that he would come on and I mean, nobody can just drop, like that's ridiculous. But I kind of kept that little thread of possibility there. And then this morning I peeked in my email. And there's hey, you're going to send me that link to your Zoom site? I was like, what is happening? So that is abundance in action right there. That is the universe answering the call. And so I'm so excited to be bringing in from Florida this morning, Dennis Merritt Jones, who wrote that book, as well as, let me get the proper invitation to you so that I don't embarrass you for coming on and then you'll never talk to me again, kind of thing.
Don't worry about it.
So anyway, okay, Dennis, throughout his lifetime, Dennis Merritt Jones has been on a quest to inspire and lift people to a higher expression of life. His personal vision is to guide people to their purpose, knowing that when one fully awakens to who they are and why they are on the planet, they begin to naturally share their gift with humankind, and in the process create an enriching life for themselves and the world around them. And so if you've been watching, then you know that I've been quoting out of this book. It's not brand new. You've written a ton of books, haven't you? And we'll talk more about that. But this is the one that we were talking about, the 10 rules for a prosperous life. So prosperity, abundance, we'll talk about those differences. We're super excited to have you here. And normally I bring in the time together with an invocation and kind of a little bell to kind of gather everybody around. I'm so excited, you guys. So what I'm going to do, because I have the graciousness of this man here in our presence, and he is also you're a minister, right? You're a reverend, yeah. So he's where I'm trying to go. Oh wow! I'm in ministerial school, like little baby steps, and he's already there. And so I thought, well, how great we can have an invocation from Dennis today, and he's been so gracious to allow that. So I'm going to go ring the bell so we can all kind of gather around, you guys, and come into this place and this space and this time and this moment that we are so blessed to receive. And I'm going to hand it over to Dennis for a beautiful invocation to create the space for this meeting today.
Thank you, Sully. So I invite each person who's on this call at this moment to just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Ask that question to yourself. How am I breathing right now? Shallow, deeply, mindfully, mindlessly? What we know is that when we breathe deeply and we're focused on that breath, what it does is it connects us to the present moment. In the present moment, that breath is what tethers us to the present moment. And that is where life is waiting for us to show up all the time, to embrace the what is in front of us. So we know that as we elevate our awareness of our oneness with life, with each other, with the infinite, we realize that information is always unfolding itself in and through each and every one of us. So I know that whoever's on this call at this moment, while our physical bodies may be miles apart, we know that there's only one mind in which we all join together and that we are able to share ideas that enrich one. And we know that what enriches one enriches all if we stay anchored in first cause. That is to remember that there's only one of us here, one of us here. And that which happens among the least of us happens among the greatest, and vice versa. So let's breathe and give thanks for being in this present moment. We set aside anything that would keep us from being fully focused in this conversation, realizing that at the end of this conversation, if what we set aside is that important, it'll be there waiting for us. So we take one last breath mindfully, and we let that breath go, knowing that there's a larger intelligence at work here, and we make space for it to have its way. And we're blessed and grateful. And so it is. Amen.
So it is. Oh, that I just kind of want to sit in that one. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. So Dennis Merritt Jones is here in the house. So amazing, because you are a universal speaker. You do workshops. You've been around for a minute, and can really talk to us about connecting with the source of our abundance, which is kind of the little bit of the information that I've been sharing with this listenership. So Windermere is a real estate brokerage that wants to elevate their company, their imprint, and they're doing that by bringing in this kind of thing, not this spiritual aspect, to make us more holistic. So we're also, body and then mind, and then all of the latest information in terms of real estate sales. But this is also going out to the world, right, as well as real estate. But this is their secret sauce that they're adding to create a higher level of consciousness in their agents, which is like cutting edge. No other brokerage is doing that.
Let me tell you something, Sully, that when you extended the invitation to me to join you, I don't normally do last minute things like this.
Right.
And yet I was a realtor for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
And I was a realtor when I discovered my spiritual pathway. Actually, this 35 years ago, more than that, 40 years ago. And what I know is that the idea of commingling our minds as professionals in whatever we're doing, and to be able to integrate the awareness of that we're spiritual beings as well as physical beings, it's powerful, because what you do is you allow a higher voice within you, each of us, when we're anchored in our awareness of our oneness with life, with God, if you will. It allows us to approach life at a higher elevation. And when we do that, we literally approach every day with a higher vibration. And that penetrates the density of a lot of the lower vibration things that are going on the planet.
And there's a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. So I'm pleased to know that there's a realty group. I've never heard of this, a realty group that's actually sponsoring a deeper awareness of self, capital S, and how that can affect your business. And of course, the infinite intelligence doesn't know the difference between an apple or a banana as far as what's business and what's personal. What we know is that we bring the highest and best of who we are, what we are, to everything we do, right?
Yes.
Whether we're selling real estate or changing the baby's diapers, right? So mindfulness is a huge part of what I teach, and that's to bring your mind. You notice your body is always present tense. It can't be any place other than the present moment. But where are our minds a large part of the time?
Right.
They're either in front of us or behind us in the future or in the past, and we have no power in either one of those places. And so mindfulness allows us to incorporate our awareness of our oneness with source in the present moment. And that's where life is waiting for us to engage.
And we can move right into these miracles, like this morning. My miracle was you. So thank you for being answered prayer on that. And the now part of this is to talk with you about what you know about abundance. And then it's such an added value that you were a realtor in your lifetime and know the struggles that face us as we're trying to hustle. Now I've created this spiritual entrepreneurship course where my next month, so each month we take a module of learning. So this month of October was abundance, and next month is non-competition, right? So like these non-competition, like there really isn't any competition, is there? So we'll talk with you a little bit more about that. But then we're talking about, creating a spiritual toolkit, developing a meditation practice, maybe a morning practice, integrity, creating an ethos, magic and mysticism. This is magic right now. We call this Magic Mondays because you appeared. And that was something. It really is. And so when we're talking about your book, which maybe we'll buy a few and then have them available to our agents, I'll talk to my broker about that. Nancy, if you're on
there are businesses around that are using this book to embellish exactly the collective consciousness of their organization, because while it is a spiritually grounded book, it's based on universal principles as well. And
great.
There's nobody on the planet that doesn't want to have access to more abundance of something in their lives. And it's not always material things. It can be an abundance of time, healthy relationships. So you can drill down deep into this concept that allows everybody to find what is theirs to do in manifesting a consciousness of abundance, which is different than prosperity, as you know.
Yes, that we basically just touched in. We only have, 20, 30 minutes, but today we're going to have a little more. But in this book, you have 10 rules for a prosperous life. Do you want to go over some of those as we do some talking points about the awareness of what we should we could condense it into 10 little steps, or how would you like to handle that?
It's up to you. I can talk for a couple minutes about each of the 10 rules if you'd like to do that, or you can ask questions about it, whatever you've got a list of them in front of you.
Right. Okay. So does anyone in the audience have any questions yet? Oh, we already have one. Look at that. What tips can you give to someone who wants to build mindfulness in their routine? Well, keep tuning back in because we're going to do a whole course on mindfulness one of these months coming up. Go ahead.
One of my books titled The Art of Uncertainty, How to Live in the Mystery of Life and Love It. There's an entire chapter devoted to mindfulness. Matter of fact, you can go to my website and download an ebook that I put up there, and just go to the press room, and it's a free download.
Oh, wow.
Ebook of my book on mindfulness. How do you hone the skill of mindfulness? Practice. And it starts out, like I said earlier, it starts out with your breath as one of the greatest ways to train yourself, because you can't not breathe for more than 30 seconds or a minute without going unconscious, right? So the question is, are you breathing? Of course you're breathing, but the question is, how are you breathing? Because when you breathe mindfully and intentionally, you especially if you can incorporate that with a mantra, like on your in-breath, you can affirm God is, or life is, or whatever works for you is, and on your out-breath, I am.
Yes.
And
I noticed even in your invocation, you bring us back to the consciousness of breathing. You say, now take a breath. And you do that a lot in your speaking. And that is to bring us back into this present moment, right?
Yeah. Very first thing I do when I address a live audience, when I do keynote speaking, is I ask, how are you breathing? Very first words out of my mouth.
Oh, yes.
and sometimes people, they laugh because they think it's a joke. I say, it's not a joke. How are you breathing? Right? Be mindful of how you're breathing, because that's what tethers you to the present moment. And the present moment is where your point of power is to create something new. You can't create anything from what you already knew before. You have to be open to what's present in the moment and incorporate that in incorporate your being with your doing.
Oh, fabulous. Hey, guess what? We have another question from the audience. Dennis, I have tried to meditate before and I can't seem to shut off my mind. Any other suggestions to support those who are like the energy bunny? They have the monkey mind going.
Well, we all do. I have the same problem. I've been doing this for 45, 50 years now, and I have monkey mind, So what it is it's being gentle with yourself, and you train yourself to realize that meditation can be more than sitting in the pretzel position for 30 minutes and just doing a mantra or an om, I meditate when I'm driving.
Yes, yes.
I meditate on the treadmill when I'm working out, So that doesn't mean you have to close your eyes and go into some etheric state. Meditation is just becoming present in the present moment and witnessing what your mind, how it wants to be so engaged, and then to invite it to be unengaged. And that's not always easy. And it's kind of like raising if you've had a puppy dog. You'll notice in all my books, I write about my dog, Mac, and when he was a puppy, I was training him to stay in one spot. And it was very hard. It was a puppy to do that. I'd stand over him. As long as I was standing right over him and said, stay, he would stay right there. But the minute I turned my back, he was off making a mess again, pulling plants out of the planters or sprinkler heads out of the grass, And but the older he got and the more I was insistent upon him listening to me when I say stay, to stay. Eventually, when I say stay and I turn my back and walk away, he still stays there. And that's the same way we all have puppy mind. Our minds are not trained or groomed to stay in one spot too long because we're addicted to instant gratification, which is always on the move. Our minds are always on the move looking for the next thing. So learning how to train your mind to stay is the very first step. And you do that by picking a point of focus. I do in my mentoring, I do work with people on learning how to drill down deeper into their state of awareness of who they are, the larger key, or the larger role of life, not a name, but a spirit, and to connect the two. Here's your doing in life, do every day. Here's your being in the present moment. The key is to interface your being with your doing and live in that state of awareness. And conscious mindfulness meditation is one of the best ways to do that.
And then what does mindfulness and meditation do to help you have abundance in your life? Well,
the very first rule in the 10 rules is, be aware that you're one with your source. And if your mind's off being consumed about what's going to happen tomorrow or what happened yesterday, you can't be present in the moment. And it's only when you're present in the moment that you can access your oneness with your source, which is life, the universe.
Yes, very good. So what are some of the other tips? Somehow your 10, is the 10, the talking points, the study outline that you sent me? That's what I ended up getting. So you have here that we're swimming in pure energy, an infinite ocean of unlimited abundance. It's closer to you than your own breath. And we were just talking about the breath, mindfulness, meditation, staying in the moment. How does the principle of abundance tie into that?
Well, the principle of abundance is not a place. It's not a thing. It's the essence of life. Abundance is a universal principle of more than enough of whatever you conceive of, anything you conceive of. But your mind is how you move that sense of abundance, which is energy in its pure form, into form, right? And nothing happens until you take energy and move it into form, a sublimation of energy into form. And so by being present in the moment, realizing that you're one with an abundant universe, the moment that you move into an awareness of your oneness with your source, you realize that there's no limits to anything if you're able to conceive of it, conceptualize it, and give birth to the idea of it and bring it into a manifest form, which is prosperity. Abundance is the essence. Prosperity is the form that you manifest abundance in.
Okay. So you're basically an energy conduit, like you're the director of an infinite potential. That's what you put in your book.
Yeah, you are. All of us are. We are energy conduits. Our minds are what direct energy, the flow of energy in our lives. And the moment you realize that you are an energy conductor, that energy moves through you, the purest form of energy that moves through you is your thoughts. And once you become aware of your thoughts, oh, there's a whole practice there of self-awareness, because I'm gonna jump to another train track here,
Okay.
because it may be relevant for everybody. Self-awareness is the key to everything that allows us to be unfolding or maturing or evolving ourselves. Okay, you realize, in the East, there's a teaching of the three miracles, and this leads to self-awareness. Okay, the first miracle is that anything exists. Think about it, anything exists. It's dang amazing that anything exists. I'm sitting here in Florida looking at palm trees and birds and boats and dogs, and it's amazing that anything exists. The second miracle is that living things exist. Things that have a life force animating through them, pushing out, like the palm trees, the dog. Living things exist that this life force moves through and causes them to become more tomorrow than they were yesterday.
Mm.
Look at your fingernails, look at your hair, everything, every aspect of your living body is proof that this life force is moving through you. And when things do stagnate, not good things happen. Okay. The third miracle is that living things exist. Now take a breath, that know they exist. That would be you and me. The awareness that you exist is where the rubber meets the road. Because the minute you realize what an amazing thing it is to be able to have a thought or have a feeling, and then step outside of that thought or that feeling and look at it, analyze it, observe it, poke it, prod it, smell it, taste it. And if it doesn't feel good, change it. That's quite amazing. No other living creature has the ability to have a thought and then analyze the thought.
Wow.
And it's through the self-awareness that when you have a thought, and which your emotional body, your feelings help point to what's going on into your mind. The minute you become aware that you're having a thought or a feeling, which will remind you of the thought that you don't like, you can challenge it and change it. But until you're aware that you're having that thought or that feeling, you can't change it.
So we're talking about abundance. We have a kind of a segue into real estate, but not necessarily real estate, but anyone who's maybe struggling with the concept right now, or, maybe they haven't had a deal or a transaction in a while. And now they're like, oh, that sounds great, but I need to, make my mortgage payment kind of thing. How do you turn your mind around to keep
balance?
that?
You have to have balance, you have to balance the absolute and the relative. Principle is not bound by precedent, which means that things can change, but you have to balance between the idealistic spiritual universe and how it applies in our daily lives in the physical sense. That's why our bodies have a mind that lives in it. And I'm not talking about the brain, but the mind. That the body without the mind is useless, right? And a mind without a body is useless. So we bring those two aspects of who we are, spiritual beings, if you will, to our physical beingness. And it's when you incorporate an awareness of those two things that the magic happens. That's when you realize that consciousness prevails. Your consciousness is just the sum total of every thought or belief you've ever had from the moment you were born until this moment in time. And your consciousness is what creates your reality, your beliefs, in other words. What you believe is always manifesting at one level or another. Do you believe you're a human being, or do you believe you're a spiritual being, or both?
Right.
So what you have to do is put your focus on learning how to integrate those two ideas in the present moment.
Beautiful.
How? Well, God is. I am. Now, how does that translate to my actions in this moment? See, when we can walk through an awareness of our oneness with life, we end up treating other people with more reverence. What is reverence? Reverence is being able to look through the shell or the form of anything and see the sacred presence within it, right? Yes. Now think of it as realtors, how often do we look at our clients as numbers? I got to get that commission. I just sold a $2.25 million home, right? And the realtor made a big commission on us. Happy that she do that. Why? Because she wasn't in it just for the money. She was in it to serve our needs.
Nice.
She did a good job. Matter of fact, it sold before it even got on the market. That's how great she was.
Yeah.
So bottom line is that when you're living consciously, especially if you're selling for a living, you realize that every word that comes out of your mouth impacts somebody in one way or another, right? So when you're selling, and when you look at the people that your clients are, whether it's a home seller or a buyer, and you can see them for more than just a piece of flesh that's got a wallet attached to it, you're moving in the right direction, because then you begin, and that's why there's a whole chapter in this book on service to others.
Yes.
Right? And when we serve selflessly, in the East, the term is seva. Seva means selfless service dedicated to God. So when we extend ourselves to others, asking, how can I make this human being's life better in this moment? How can I enrich their lives? Something magically happens within that. It links us to this a sense of an abundant universe that takes care of that which is always open to receiving and giving.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's my tagline, actually. It's not what's in it for me, it's how can I be in service to you. Mm-hmm. And we have another question for you. Dennis, do you believe that we can overanalyze it, where we fall into paralyzation?
Yes, yes, I like that, paralyzation. Yeah, I do think we can do that. And it's easy. Our minds are addictively looking for answers, right? And it does not like being told to sit, stay, and be. And so, when we talk about overanalyzing something, I mean, how many times do we make decisions, then go back and, like, in spiritual mind treatment, what do? We say, and so it is. You don't hear the practitioner then say 2 minutes later, say, gee, I sure hope that one worked, So there's a process of realizing that you have to find that balance between your being and your doing. And if you're over analyzing everything, you're in your head, not your heart. And so you need to step back, take a breath, and see what's going on. That's why emotional awareness is so important. Emotional awareness tells you, it's like a telegraph station. It tells you what's going on in your mind. If you're aware, if you're in touch with your feelings and your emotional nature, it'll tell you what's going on in your mind that you may want to think about or review or look at, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got another question here. It says, what is the thing that gets in the way the most when someone is trying to embrace abundance? Oh, that's a good one.
Fear. Fear. What keeps us from having an abundance of whatever it is that we seek in our lives? Fear is fear is the belief that we don't have it. And this book is dedicated to the proof, the idea that you already do have abundance. It's not something you have to go out and get. It's something that you allow to manifest through you. It's already there. And so, but too often when we're looking outside of ourselves for our good, we become codependent or reliant upon other people's actions or deeds in order to benefit us. And I don't know how I can put it any better than that. Let me read the question one more time. What is the thing that gets in the most someone trying to embrace abundance? Again, it goes back to being and doing. Here's being, here's doing. It's about integrating your being with your doing in the present moment. And too often we're so focused on the manifestation that we forget that it takes time to change the belief system that creates the manifestation. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you're 50 years old, you're not, but I'm well over that. I'm 72 years old, right? It took me 72 years to form the current belief system, consciousness that I have. And what I learned as a student 45 years ago is that you don't change your belief system. You don't change something that took 45 years or 30 years. You don't change it overnight, but it changed a little bit at a time, every day. So patience is a virtue when it comes to having a shift in consciousness. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's the constant daily processes of reading classes, doing what you're offering here, just doing things that help you focus on your higher potential and possibilities and your higher self on a daily basis, a little bit each day, it adds up. It's kind of like, have you ever seen a tree that was in the ground planted and it was growing sideways because it just didn't have proper support? What happens if you try to pull that tree up like that right away? What happens? It'll break, right? The gardeners will tell you, tie a rope to it and slowly over a period of months, tighten the rope each month or each week until it comes back upright. And that's the way it is with consciousness. If you try to force your consciousness to manifest a greater level of what it's already doing, you're going to break it. You can't, it'll just shut down on you. But slowly, over a period of months, weeks, years, your belief system will shift according to the instructions that you give it. And so it takes time. It takes time.
Yes, and segueing into that, do what you love. Abundance follows the path of least resistance, is what you have in your book, right?
Yeah, that's passion. Passion's very powerful. You know, how many people who are selling real estate are really excited about what they do, or they're doing it just to make a living? Now, that's a hell of a statement to make, because a lot of people are just struggling to make a living, right? But the reality is that if you don't love what you do, you're telling the universe that you're not serious about it. Okay, passion is what incorporates the juiciness of the energy that drives the motor. Think of it this way: passion. Think of a sailboat. A rudder would be your mind, right? But your passion is the wind that drives the sailboat. You have to capture the wind, the passion, in order to move you forward. And that's where having a vision for your life comes in. With my mentoring clients, I work with establishing visions so they can point where they want to go and then set a game plan to get to it. Right? That's the rudder on the boat. The passion is the excitement that continues to keep you moving forward in that venture, in the direction that your rudder's pointing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we just put up your Dennis's website. We didn't talk about unlocking the paradox found in the law of circulation.
Yeah. Circulation, I mean, it's a principle of life. Anything that's living has circulation of energy moving through it. Look at your body, look at the universe, circulates, it moves. When we stop allowing energy to move, it stagnates, it coagulates, and it kills us. So I talk in this chapter about the law of circulation. I really focus on the idea that it's not just about giving, which is what a lot of people are. They think, well, in order to practice the law of circulation, you have to give as you receive. Well, that's kind of like saying it's more blessed to breathe in than out. You have to breathe out as well as in, right? So you have to be a good giver as well as a good receiver. So law of circulation tells us that we can't do one without the other. We have to make ourselves into good hosts of the abundance that is ours and be willing to let it move through us, trusting and knowing that action in itself affirms the universe that we're open to receiving more.
And you have to use what you have too, right?
Of course, yeah.
Well, that'll choke it off. Yeah,
in the book, I give exercises about taking a look at your life, which is a metaphor for what's going on in your head. Look at I have people in my workshops do a cleaning of their house. Go through your closets, clean out your closets. Look at your garage. Is there a lot of stuff stacked up in your garage that, there are cupboards that are, if it's more than a year old and you haven't used it, it's energy that you're telling the universe there's no room for anything new here.
Yeah, we touched a little bit on that last week. Yes, I ended up with a lot of Amazon boxes during COVID, to make myself feel better. Like, someone loves me. They're dropping a box off at my front door, and it left me with a lot of just too much stuff that I'm not using, and it's not, and I feel the energy, I feel the weight of that energy. But gosh, we've already gone 30 minutes with Dennis, you guys. But let's wrap it up with the flow. I guess it is your opinion then all of these practices.
Well, I'll tell you what, So let me just read the 10 rules.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. That's what I was going to do. Mhm.
Be one with life, which means realize you're one with your source. Number two is be aware you live in an expanding universe. If you look at the universe, it's expanding at the speed of light. It's 187,000 miles a second. And that's fast, right? And there's energy, and it's creating more of itself from within itself as it expands. How profound is that? Realize that you're part of that expansion, and that what's going on in the macrocosm is also happening in the microcosm, you. And so when you realize that you live in a universe that's expanding at the speed of light, there's that principle within you that wants to push out, that divine urge that wants to push out and create more too. You have to be open to it. The third rule is be accountable for your consciousness, which we've already talked about. Understand that your belief system creates your reality. So if you don't like your reality, you really need to revisit your belief system and see what's supporting it. Okay. The fourth one is be focused. Realize that you have to focus your energy in specific ways in order for it to manifest anything. That's where developing disciplines comes in. You know, you have to be focused and point your energy in a specific direction if you want it to be productive. And too often our minds are going here and there and everywhere. They're all over the place. And that's why mindfulness is a good practice to bring you to the present moment and be with what is. Okay. The fifth one is be in the flow, which is really about understanding the law of circulation, which we already talked about. The sixth one is be passionate, which we've already talked about. These are all chapters, right, that give you deep work and mindfulness practices to understand how to bring these ideas into your daily life. Be blessed. Understand that you are a blessing, and that you have to accept the blessings that come into your life. Be of service. We already talked about that. Be courageous. Oh boy, there it is. You know, nothing happens until you go out, step outside of your comfort zone. And that requires courage. Okay. And the last one is be a catalyst for good. In other words, realize that who you are and what you do matters in the world, and that you're not here just to suck air and to take. You're also here to contribute, to give back to life. And as you become a catalyst for good, you realize it's not just about me, it's about we. And again, when you can incorporate it in your sales mindset, you'll be amazed at how that will bring your clients into the energy of yes.
Nice.
All of a sudden, they get it that you're not there just to fatten your wallet up there. You're there to serve them and to make the planet really, as corny as it may sound, a better place than it was before you got here because you were here.
Well, that's the goal. I know at Windermere, they're all in for their agents and their clients. And maybe we can talk to them about getting you out here for a little
I'd love that.
training. Wouldn't that be amazing, agents? What do you think, agents? Yeah.
You know, I do mentoring also. I'm just starting a program, a Zoom mentoring with small groups, probably 5 to 6 people in each group mentoring. I do mentoring with individuals all over the world via Zoom. And I'm going to start doing Zoom for small group mentoring, because I think that, like realtors, that you guys have common issues that you'd like to talk about.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And to process ideas that will move you forward as individuals as well as a group.
Beautiful.
So you go to my website, you can contact me through my website, dennismerrittjones.com.
Yeah, I put it up in the chat for anyone who wanted to jot that down. We'll be talking to everybody after the show too. I'm sure they have lots of things and I'll forward those to you. Now, when I close out this meeting, I usually pull this little angel cards, just give some, it's our thought for you're not going to believe this. What do you think it is?
Prosperity.
It's even better because it's abundance. Are you kidding me? So that's how beautiful this whole thing has happened. I called Dennis. I sent him a random email from nowhere, and
which I did not get till this morning, by the way.
Which is so funny because but the thought that I had was, oh well, I can still, I'll still use his work and I'll talk about his book and in my morning show, right? So I was okay because I knew I was taken care of no matter what. And then I just go, I'm just going to peek one last time if he responded. And he's like, where's that link to the Zoom? So you guys, This is a beautiful, abundant blessing to have Dennis in our presence. And let's push our owner, Rich, and our broker to have him come out and see us as a company. and really drive home the art of abundance.
Yeah, and I have a total of 6 books, and each book has different focuses. So I invite you to go to my website. You can see the links to Amazon, all my different books, and all my books have study guides with them too. So you can personalize it. You can download the study guide out of the page that has all the downloads on it, free downloads.
Well, I want to thank you so much. And would you be so kind as to take us out with a prayer for the day, for the week, for our consciousness around abundance?
Okay, so let's just take another deep breath, and in that breath, let's anchor ourselves in this present moment. Let's just allow thoughts and feelings to come and go rather than try to understand them or embrace them. Just be in the flow in this moment. And we realize that in this moment that something has shifted in the last half hour, and everybody who's on this call, in their minds and hearts, there's been movement, even if they're not aware of it yet. It shows up. It does show up. And it allows us to realize that when we walk through our door of our home in the morning, when we leave, we can ask ourselves, who is it I bring with me as I leave this home today? As we get into our automobiles, we ask ourselves, who is it that's driving this car today? Is it a conscious, grounded individual, or is it somebody who's mindless and got their mind in 5 different places at the same time? We breathe and we come back to the present moment. When we walk into our offices, we ask ourselves, who is it that I bring into this office this day? Is it the highest possibility of myself, or is it somebody of a lower vibration who's just caught up in the drama of life and wrapped up in so many fears? Who is it that when I walk into the grocery store, who is it I bring into the store today? Is it a mindfully grounded individual, or is it somebody who's mindless, just worried about taking care of themselves? So we evolve in consciousness, and we become aware that we're all one, that life is great, life is wonderful, life is purposeful, and we're here to be each and every one of us the living vessel through which and as which life unfolds uniquely and beautifully. And we open to this idea, and as we do, we realize that not only are we blessed, but we become a blessing to others, whether it's real estate, business clients, or family members, or strangers on the street. We become a blessing to them because we're conscious, grounded, and awake and aware of who we are, what we're doing, and but more importantly, why we're doing it. Who we are is wonderful, but what we do with who we are matters. And we're grateful this is so, and so it is. Amen.
Ooh, so it is. Dennis Merritt Jones, thank you so much for being a part of this Magic Monday, this Soul on Fire Spiritual Entrepreneurship course.
My pleasure.